Hey everybody, we're back with the 99 interviews for prosperity with Mickey again, the lovely, lovely goddess that is the brain behind it all, this beautiful little organism. It's the mitochondria, the
Right,
powerhouse
the
of prosperity.
mitochondria, right, of
Um,
prosperity.
so today we're going to be doing something slightly different. Instead of a full, like, professional interview, we're going to have an open dialogue about a project that I've been heavily involved with, and then probably many of you know, which is Project Elf. So to
And
get the
elf,
ball,
ELF, like elf,
ELF, yep, like Santa Claus's
like,
elf.
right.
Uh, so to get the ball rolling, how? How did you? Why did you? Where did you? When did you just kind of
Well,
birth Project Elf into being?
Project Elf, again, actually the same concept of how prosperity was, how how all of it was born is that I'll have a question and I'm a math geek, right? Numbers help me kind of manage my life. And Project Elf was started around, I wanted to prove out a concept around rearranging resources.
Mhm,
And we are 20 years into that,
mhm,
of what came, and there was, I did an article on it early in my career, that the people that were going back into poverty, and this was 20 years ago, so it was less money, but for right now it's about, the stat in today's dollars would be about $100, that people were going back into the recidivism of homelessness for about $100, and that really irritated me. uh that I thought, wow, because for a lot of reasons, right? Poverty is a lot of things.
mhm,
And for all of this time, for 24 years, I've been teaching every 14 days to people that are in the homeless shelters,
mhm.
as well as people that are in the executive suites.
Right.
So you met me through the work that I did at Project Elf. And I was really challenged by the rearranging of resources, that when I worked with families that were in homelessness and coming out of homelessness, the vast amount of disparity of what they didn't have access to, was really stunning.
Right.
Like like when you kind of when I think people forget, after they've like got their big girl job or their big boy job and they have a car and they kind of have their life settled, they forget it was a lot of work to get there.
Yeah.
And I remember the first house we did, because at Project Elf we will give, that's why it was named Project Elf, was because on Christmas Eve, we're going to come into a family that was in homelessness. We're going to help them find a home, and we're going to send them to the mall, and they can't come home for 6 hours, and then truckloads of stuff is going to come in of
It
people.
used to be Nickelodeon Universe specifically, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yes. Well, yeah, wow. There it is. It used to be Camp Snoopy. Was
Yes, it used to
was
be
Camp
camps.
Snoopy originally. But we would send them to the Mall of America, which is this huge mall here in Minneapolis, and send them and have a wonderful day. We'd find partners and give them shopping money and stuff like that. And they were just kind of, and they know me from Miss Mickey. That most people that know me in the community, that's what they call me, is Miss Mickey, because they met me as a teacher.
Mhm.
Uh, they met me as a supporter. And then we would come in and do all this magic. And we would just make every dream come true. And I'd invite all my friends to do it with me. And it's pure chaos. It's pure chaos.
Yes, it is.
And then we had federal funding from Head Start for those families. So we always had Head Start age families, so little kids. And Christmas is fun with little kids. And then we had, multiple families that didn't celebrate those holidays. So then we did them at different times and so forth. So, but Project Alpha was just a name that we started. We have one in Minneapolis and there's another one in Dallas. And the idea is to rearrange resources, right? If I take things out of my closet and put them into someone else's closet who needs them. Now there's a trade that didn't need to happen. And that alleviates the amount of times that someone has to go back to homelessness. And so if we just give somebody access to resources, the way a community can, and it became a community, you know, there's only 500 people that actively receive that email. So Project Elf is a way to rearrange resources. And that's what I did, is I made a decision. And the decision was, how could I get resources from these people that I knew into these people I knew? And how can we make that so that it makes everybody better?
Yeah.
And 24 years later, there's no possible way that I knew that it would impact or heal or just have so many facets to it. And that's where you came to us, as a Project Elf intern. And you and your family benefited greatly from that.
Absolutely.
It when you see it, even today, it looks like absolute chaos. But
yes,
you've also gotten to see a lot of the families that we've helped, and that is prosperity, right? It's the ability to magnify. It is how can we get resources in, and the availability for someone to have access to more resources.
Yeah.
And by coming to class, I teach class every 14 days in the community. By them coming to class, they then start to have a language. They start to hear different things. I'm surprised when COVID hit, our class size like went crazy through the roof. I mean, there were some days we'd have 100 people in class.
Wow.
And so we switched to online. And but when we originally did that class, we did it so that we would have a bus go pick people up out of the shelter. We would make sure that their kids had daycare. We'd feed them lunch, and then we built the magic closets that Head Start let us put into their Suzanne. The person who let us use that, the building used to be a sewing room, like a school. And then it became a daycare, Head Start. And if you don't know what Head Start is, look them up. They're amazing. These are federal dollars at work and state dollars. But it's early childhood education. But the school before used to be like a high school. So it had this fantastic sewing room. So it has these closets that were built for people to like get out their sewing machines and stuff. So they didn't use them because it was like the lunchroom then. They turned it into like the lunchroom for staff.
Wow.
So they let us have the closets. And so we had another article that came out on the magic closets because we didn't put any rules on it. Of if there's anything that you want in this closet, take as much as you want. And people would like walk out with garbage bags of stuff.
Yeah, it never stopped. It was the one continuous flow. You know, for over a decade, I packed for those closets being there every Saturday.
For those closets, and it's thousands. I mean, it's tons. It's tons. It's literally like, I'm not even kidding. We had somebody come in and measure the weight of an average IKEA bag. And so there were many days that you and I were packing, 18 IKEA bags full of clothing.
Yeah, I shudder to think the amount of things that have crossed through these beautiful digits to be both in and out of Project Elf.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. I had said something to my nephew. I said, that he had to get something. He came over to Project Elf and he was like, oh gosh, this is crazy. And I said, listen, the reason your auntie has such a nice booty is because I move all this stuff around. And he is like, too much.
Too much information. Yeah. Even
Tell
I
me
was
this.
so much more fit when I was working for Project Health, having to move.
Oh,
Like there was a point in time, I don't know if you remember the summer that I moved a 10-foot couch by myself.
by yourself. That you can, yes, yes.
Literally just picked up the 10-foot couch and put it on my shoulder and walked it through the woman's
Yes,
door like it was
yes.
nothing.
Well, and we were delivering it to a family that had six
Like
or eight kids.
it wasn't it more than that though? I think it was like 8 or 9.
It could, yeah, but they were all like little people, and they were just watching you, like
In
they
complete
just couldn't believe
amazement.
it.
And then them trying to help me get it through the door. It was an absolute beautiful moment.
It's one of many. But
One
that
of
is how Project Elf started. Was I was irritated.
mm,
This is something that's solvable. That community, if community knows a problem, then community can fix a problem.
mm,
And there wasn't a way for community to access the problem. So what I had to do, which was when you came in, is that I just took out of my own money and bought a storage unit.
mm.
And we started putting stuff into the storage unit.
I remember.
Before you came, we would just, I would just like carry it in my car or something.
Yeah.
And and my husband got real tired of that because we had a fancy car.
Yeah, didn't you kind of semi run it out of the other room on the second floor of your house?
Oh gosh, yeah. The upstairs, like, don't, it's a do not pass zone.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
still hide things up there. I'm here now. I'm upstairs.
No, I remember the day that we went because we went and got that unit together.
Yes,
I remember going that day. God, that was almost 10 years ago. I remember going to get the first unit, 1908,
yes.
and just this itty bitty tiny unit just could barely hold anything in it. I remember all of the cold winter mornings shuffling down that little unit to throw open that thing and then cramming that hallway full of things
Oh my
and just
God.
trying to figure out how everything was going to fit because even at that time we had an overabundance of things and like really trying to honestly work through how any of it was going to fit in that like 5 foot by
Crevice.
6 foot unit, like
Right.
just this low crack in the wall.
Ray, who used to manage that facility, and I still talk. And Ray has been such a grand supporter, because a lot of times what the audience might not know. So what happens with Project Elf is, like, we'll teach in community, I'll teach in community, we'll give classes, and then when they move out, some of them will give this grand expectation. But everybody that comes through class, if I have anything, if you just come to class, you can shop in these closets and you can have everything that you want for free. So we would always put stuff there so that everyone could have something. But what I was always looking for is, who's the one, right? Or who's the two that we know can make it, that they can make it to another piece. And this is where Project Elf is magic, is that we will find those. But we carry those families. It takes 7 years to carry a family from homelessness or the birth of their last baby until they can stand on their own. So we are a resource for them that whole time. So you've seen kids grow up.
Mhm.
You've seen lots of things
I've
happen.
seen kids grow up. I've seen kids go to college.
Right, right. That
Yeah.
that it really happens. And it really happens because um, we had a group of people that would believe that that could happen. And anyway, I was talking to Ray the other day, and Ray would act as our lead elf.
Mm.
So, I would have some little kid whose mom is coming to get stuff for, like, back to school or something. And they would be like, Miss Mickey, what is this place? And I'm like, well, this is Santa's storage locker. And do you want to meet the lead elf? And I'd carry a kid into Ray's
Mm.
office and set her right on his desk. And, he would tell her all about how, boy, they run lots of stuff out here.
Yeah.
Santa's got lots of units.
I can't imagine. I would like those videotapes to be able to watch us squirrel back and forth between everything. Because there was at one point in time, I think we had three
We had
units
three
in there
units.
all
Yeah, at
going. We had
Christmas.
1908, and then we had Heidi's unit, and then the big one that's there
Yeah.
now. And I think there's been one or two others that have like
The day Ray
come
came
and gone.
over and told us that he had the unit 2402, he's like, I don't know if you can afford this, but you need this unit. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to make, yes, yes.
Yes, please. We're gonna take that one. We're gonna move everything. I
We
remember
will move
moving
today.
everything to that unit and like just going, wow, how are we gonna fill all of this? Because in comparison, what we had in 1908 was so small in this much bigger unit. And then I basically by the next Saturday, it was full.
It was full.
You know,
And that was the part of prosperity in my community that I didn't realize how much excess the everyday person had.
mhm.
Um, yeah. So in my video, yes, in our interview, it is a bright. You can see you're on my lunch hour.
Mhm.
Vincent's interviewing me on my lunch hour, and it
We
is
love it.
sunny and beautiful and about 100 degrees here.
That's way too
Uh,
warm.
but one of the things about Project Elf that we
Mhm.
that you really do get to see is in building community, having one person with the same phone number that knew who you were, that knew your kids, that knew your story, mattered.
Yes.
And that there were other people attached to me, right? There was Miss Tony, there was you, there was Heidi. There's people that were always around and always helping.
Yes.
And Heidi was a really big change for Project Elf because she could sort all the clothes. That just having her take over the clothing
Well,
to the
yeah, she could
closets,
take on some of the smaller tasks that we couldn't necessarily do
right,
because for a long time I didn't have the ability to do so. You
right.
certainly didn't. So, like, yeah, Heidi coming in was a game
It
changer
was
for
a
sure.
game changer, um, and Heidi brought something. The first year that she came to Project Elf, I would put out a list. I would mail out a list of everything that we need. So the way that it works is very I'm a ragtag kind of system, right? Is that I'll interview that family for the big give, right? The big give, right? That's where all the pictures are. For those of you who like Facebook, it's on Facebook. But we have this big surprise and everybody's really excited and it's super fun and it's totally chaotic. And some people have been super mad at me about it because it's too chaotic. And I'm like, I don't know how else to do this because you're moving a family in that needs every single thing in every single drawer.
Yeah,
There is
you
no
kind of
system,
have to have 70 people in there all working on individual tasks to complete it in the time frame.
right? We have 6 hours. And it's 6 hours, and in some of those cases there's 8 people, so you've got clothes and beds and this and that and a
Not to
kitchen
mention
and
if
a
things
bathroom.
needed to be repaired or painted or any of the
Oh
extra hanging curtains and putting new toilet seats on and
yeah, yeah, I mean we did it all.
filling refrigerators and stocking cabinets full of food. Like, there kind of needs to, like, I need someone washing dishes and cleaning the stove at the same time,
Yeah,
not one person cleaning the kitchen.
right, right. And then I think that on those big gives, um, we we definitely have a process, but we're also really aware of the real hardship there, and which is that these are terrible neighborhoods, that these are we have to do it in secrecy,
Mm,
because they'll get robbed.
yeah.
That we have to be very careful about how we give,
Yeah.
and and
I bet
truckloads
there
of
were
stuff
many
showing up
times
on Christmas Eve is a real, like,
dangerous thing. Like,
hey,
I bet you guys were thankful many times that I was there. many,
Well,
many
you're a
times.
giant person.
I am very much a threat
Yeah,
deterrent. I
yeah.
am a threat to the threats.
And well, yeah, that we've had to have you walk a block, walk around the block and do some other
Hmm.
things.
Yeah.
So we have to really get people who are used to living in safe neighborhoods, understanding what it's like to live in a neighborhood that has a lot of high crime. How do we get all of that stuff in? That we have to get a truck in and out and unloaded, and we have 10 minutes max, and then you need to disappear. We can't. Not everybody can come at the same time. They can't leave it all at the same time. That
Mhm.
there are a lot of components in order for us to give a gift like that. That you have to know an enormous amount of stuff. You can't be like, gabbing on the front seat, on the front
Yeah.
deck. That I need you inside this house. I need you
Yep.
to
I
not bring
need you working every second of the
I
time that
need
you're
you
here.
to not bring a coat, bring your own lunch, bring something else, bring something to drink, that there's no run to the store or whatever. Like,
There's no downtime whatsoever. You are constantly moving.
you will be moving. It is craziness.
Yeah, because I was a heavy, heavy smoker for many of that decade, for a good portion of the decade that was there. I remember it's so chaotic that the only time I would be able to go smoke was when I was basically doing threat deterrent and
Right.
walking around and making sure that everything was fine. Because I remember many times, like one very specifically, I can't remember the family. It was on I think Elliott Street,
Oh, it might have been
and
Kumba.
it might have been cool. They had like when you first walk in the door, it goes straight downstairs, basically for the front.
Oh, I can't remember who that is. Okay,
But it
yeah.
was a pretty little house, though. It had a basement, a middle, and an upstairs. Very gorgeous house. And I remember just because I was the one moving a lot of things, because I was the muscle behind a lot of the things for Project Delph.
Right.
I remembered watching the silver car circle the block many, many times. And here's a fun tidbit for everybody's watching. I grew up in neighborhoods like that, so I understand exactly what's happening. I remember coming to you being like, hey, there's a weird silver car that's driving around. I think we need to be a little bit more careful. I remember, and I don't know if I've ever told you story, so this story, so it might be an exclusive just for your interview.
Oh,
Uh, but I remember, I don't know if you remember, but me coming in going, yeah, everything's fine. I think we should be okay. That silver car was driving around slowly, and I think it was the sixth time that it had circled the block, and it was just
right.
one man in it, very shabby looking, nothing fancy about him, very thin, kind of looks sickly. And I remember the reason he stopped circling the block, and I think the reason that that house didn't get robbed that day is because he was driving so slow that I just walked up and got in the car and sat with him in the passenger seat.
Oh my gosh.
Just stepped in the car and closed and said, how can I help you, sir? Can I help you with anything? And like having that whole moment to help him. And I was like, I think it's time to move on. Today is not the day.
Yeah.
And then getting out and closing the door and proceeding with my day like nothing was wrong. And
Yeah.
I've never heard anything wrong going at that house.
No, but yeah, being cased, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I didn't know that. That's fantastic. And that would be just completely frightening. Now, if it wasn't for ill-gotten, boy, that man is going to remember that for the rest of his life.
Just going to, I don't think that man will ever attempt to rob anyone ever, because that is a horrifying thing. If we just remove me out of the picture, just to have someone bold enough to enter your vehicle
Mhm.
and just tell you, no, no, we're not going to do that
Yeah,
today
no,
whatsoever.
no.
You know,
Whatever
but
it
the
is that
fact that a
you're,
6'2", 360-pound nail-clad man
it
steps
it
into
it is
your vehicle and
crazy.
just goes, mm-mm. That sticks with you for the
Yeah,
rest of your life.
it is there. Uh, and I don't know what to do about that. But yeah, so the gift itself, when we do those big gives, it's a really heavy lift. It takes Lee is who he has a bed company, and so he personally comes with his family to deliver these beds, takes up, pays for it. So
I
people
think
are very generous.
that's the most difficult one to hide, I think, because he
Well,
has
and
to bring in the whole
I will say
truck.
that when Lee decided that he was willing to come in to help those families, the beds, knowing that we could give beds to every kid on those big gives, every person would have a bed for sure. Because when we first started, we didn't have beds.
Right.
That if I could get them, I could get them. If I couldn't, I couldn't. It depended on who had what. And once Lee came on and we could give a bed to everybody, boy, that also was a game changer, because now every kid could have a place to sleep. And we were putting 3 or 4 kids on just one big bed. And parents wouldn't mind how I solved it. To go, look, you got 3 kids. How about I got one queen bed? Would that work? Okay. And these are brand new beds. I mean, Lee brought them brand new beds.
Still in the plastic.
Still in the plastic. And that is when you have a big family, it is chaotic because they're always in houses that are too small because they have very limited rent options. And so we are literally stuffing beds and mattresses and box springs and stuff in the door as fast as we can to get that truck out of here. So we have a very limited amount of time. We have a very limited amount of space, and we're screaming, girls' room, go up to the boys' room. This goes to the so-and-so. And it is crazy. And what ends up happening every single year is I forget something different, that I learn something new, no matter what. And I make a new mistake every year, but it never doesn't work.
Yeah. I remember a few of those years I had to, at least 2 of them, specifically the one we were talking about earlier and one other one, having to kind of be in control of telling people what went where and all of the extra things, and just how chaotic that is. And just getting people to know what they're doing, because it obviously can't be planned in advance. There's too much going on. There's too much need to be met in the moment. It's just kind of astounding because you type up the whole thing and there's like a 30-page list of everything.
It is right.
And it's just kind of people walk in and you go, okay, I need you in this room, you in this room, you in that room, you doing that and that, and then everybody's like, okay, we're done. What do we do? And it's like, I need this and that. There's so many moving
parts, and it's hundreds of hours to be able to deliver. It's hundreds of hours. And the bigger the family, the more work it is. And but now in Project Elf, we have those main families that we're there to give, but we also have all of these other families that are in waiting. So the weekend before that we're going to do our big give, or the 2 weekends before, which is sometimes why we have 3 different storage units, because we'll have up to 65 other individuals that we're managing Christmas for. And so it's a really heavy lift, and the rules for us of what we can give to somebody in a homeless shelter, and what are the rules that we can give to somebody that's in an apartment or coming out of foster care. We have a lot of foster care kids. We have a lot of foster care statistics are like the worst. And those young people, I just love them. That they're trying, they have their first sparkly new apartment, that they're on their own and they've waited for this, but the statistics that are against them are so harsh. So I try to give really a lot to them, but we are literally packing up trucks, you and I, with all of this to go, and sending Christmas to another 65 individuals on top of this big other house. So Project Elf has been what I didn't know. So first of all, you changed a lot. I often say, bless your black little heart, your dark heart. Yes, bless your little dark heart, right? Because you didn't want to be helpful. You were like, why are we doing this? I'm only just doing this.
No, I was there for the money. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm here for the money. And then the day that you were carrying a kitchen set.
Yeah, that was the day everything changed for me.
You were carrying this little kid kitchen set, and it was the heat of summer, and
Yeah,
we were carrying it in, and this little girl comes running down, and she just hugs your leg as you're walking her kitchen set in.
yeah.
And the spell had been broken. You were
A little bit. Yeah, that was like this singular moment that was like, okay, maybe it's not so much about the money, you know, because it's a magical thing when you're just like it's 96 degrees outside. It was the hottest day that
so hot.
summer, and I'm dying, just
And you don't
dying
like
because
to be
we've been
hot, right?
working all day. And yeah, we got out and I pulled it off. I think we were in a truck at the time, but
Yeah.
I pulled it off the truck and was just kind of one-handed carrying it down the sidewalk to get to their house. And all of a sudden, just these two little kids. One was like 7 or 8. The other one was like
3.
3 or 4 or something
And it's
like
her
that.
kitchen. It was her kitchen,
Yeah,
right?
her kitchenette, and all of a sudden it's just like, ah, it's my kitchen. Thank you. Like it just melt hearts completely.
Oh. There were a couple of little kid moments
Yeah.
that there was another one that also had 2 little girls. The house with the little kitchen, they had a lot of kids.
Mhm.
Um, so they had teenagers and they had a whole spectrum of age. But yeah, I think watching you get it
Yeah.
was really fun. Was really
Yeah.
fun. But it was kind of melting the Grinch's heart.
A little bit, and his heart grew 3 times that day, 3 sizes that day, for sure. But we have 5 minutes. Our timer is there, so I want to
Okay.
wrap up real quick.
What
And
else do you want to know about Project Elf?
I think for now that's it. There's definitely more here to have a conversation, another open dialogue about. But
What did you take away from Project Elf? Because we helped your family a lot. I mean, that
you did help my family a lot. I don't think so. Here's what I
what
believe. I
how
don't.
did your family change by having access to resources for so long?
That's kind of difficult to describe because my family really wasn't the one that changed. It was me.
That's right.
My perception of how to both allocate and use resources is forever different. You
Mhm.
know, I think I'm one of few people that work with Project Elf that really understand that Project Elf is about just kind of reallocating resources and understanding the flow of resource in general. Uh, and that's I've really taken that with me over the last decade of just how to use what I have and what other people have differently, and not even necessarily in terms of money or financial anything, but both, kind of spiritually and just what I have and what I can possess. Because I've done, even being here, moving to Utah after so many years, I've been able to do significantly more for people than I ever could have. Like, I had a friend that we brought here, and I was able to move enough resources around to get them $600 in their pocket and a plane ticket.
Yeah.
Like, and that was based on just knowing what resources I had and how to use them and then where to put them. So it's different. It's
And,
different.
and that changes the power,
Yeah, it does.
right? That changes. I think that is the thing that's very fun to watch is that you can help yourself.
Very much.
And there's something that changes when you can help someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot changes when you can help both yourself and someone else.
Yeah. And boy, there's our end.
Yeah.
There's our end.
Well, thank you for being here with us today again, and all the
Again,
magicalness. Thank you for, Project Elf and all the good that has come out of that. Thank you guys for watching and or listening, however you choose to entertain yourselves with us for the day. And as always, go with prosperity.
bye everybody.